The death toll from the Indonesian earthquake and tsunami has now passed 1,300 and there are still more trapped in rubble. The United Nations says around 200,000 people are in desperate need of help, with food and water in short supply and hospitals overwhelmed with the injured.
3 days under the ruins of an office building, but he's alive. Few of the victims have been as lucky as this 38-year-old man, pulled out after a 3-hour rescue operation. Many more are still buried in these impossible mountains of rubble. In the city centre, they're trying to open some of the blocked roads. But from the air you can see what the Indonesian government is up against. This is the village of Balaroa, which was literally swallowed by the liquefying ground churned up by the earthquake. And here in Petobo, they were hit by a mudslide. Sometimes it seems this city's been hit by a whole series of catastrophes, not just the earthquake and the tsunami, but in this neighbourhood, a sea of mud that fell down the mountain and has buried all of the houses right up to halfway, and some of the inhabitants too. Made Mastro has come back with his youngest son to check what's left of his home. They had a narrow escape. The mud came down right after the earthquake, he told me. 3 or 4 minutes later, he and his family just ran with only the clothes they were wearing. Made and his neighbours have salvaged what they can, but it isn't much. They need everything, and they're not getting it yet. So Palu's inhabitants are taking matters into their own hands. Here, trying to break into a small supermarket, and then being driven back by police officers who seemed afraid of being overrun. 1 hour later, though, the police relented, and the crowd poured into the shop. They did make a token effort to stop non-essential items being looted, but a government unable to help most of these earthquake victims can't really stop them helping themselves. The first real sign of order we saw, this extraordinary line for petrol, each bottle with its own queue number, while its owners sit in the shade for the long hours they'll have to wait.
The federal government says it will send more than 50 medical professionals to Indonesia to help in the aftermath as part of a $5 million aid package. Prime Minister Scott Morrison says the money will also go towards providing medical equipment and the support of defence assets as required. He says all Australians stand with our Indonesian friends and neighbours.
I just wanted to say a couple of things about Indonesia. You would have heard the Foreign Minister, Minister Payne, already announce that the Commonwealth Government, the Australian Government, is planning to provide a further $5 million worth of support and assistance to assist the relief effort in Indonesia, in Sulawesi. Those planned arrangements include medical teams, medical equipment, and as well as providing the support of defence assets as required. That will be coordinated all through the Indonesian Government and all Australians. All Australians stand with our Indonesian friends and neighbours as they are going through what I can only imagine is the most horrific of times as they work through this, and there are many challenges ahead, and the Australian Government stands with our friends in Indonesia to do what is necessary to support them in our time of need.
Homicide